Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show. I'm your host, Mischa Zvegansoff, and today we have a special treat for those of you interested in the tangible impact of targeted marketing strategies. Joining us is Mike Gunderson, a master of direct mail marketing who has profoundly influenced how companies like Wells Fargo and PayPal reach their customers. Mike brings a wealth of knowledge from his vast experiences, particularly in leveraging data analytics to optimize direct mail campaigns. So get ready to dive deep into the nuances of direct mail, learn about its precision targeting, and discover how you can apply these strategies to your business for better engagement and ROI. Stay tuned as Mike shares his expert insights that could revolutionize your marketing efforts. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate you having us.
Indeed, this is going to be so much fun, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I would consider myself, at one point I was a fledgling direct mail guy. So I was in home loans for a good 15, 20 years, through the bubble, pre-bubble, through the bubble of 2008, yeah, and post-bubble.
Which home loan did you mind?
Yeah, sure. Wells Fargo Home Mortgage for the bulk of my career.
I'm allowed to work with those guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, by the way, anybody watching, listening right now, you can go to GundersonDirect.com and see what Mike Gunderson here, who's joining us, is up to. GUNDDERSON direct.com, GundersonDirect.com. But before we get started, and I go on about Wells Fargo, I mean, the list of who you help is unbelievable. Wells Fargo, Union Bank, PayPal. I mean, it's just this who's who of those were just financial companies, but you just have this list of amazing companies, the motley
We've been
fool.
very lucky over the years. You know, it all started from when I was back at Providian Financial back in the early 2000s. Providian Financial was one of the largest direct marketing mailers in the United States, you know, really marketing credit cards to low income and unbanked folks. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth on direct mail and really fell in love with the analytics behind the entire medium.
Amazing. So what I was doing when I was in the home loan business, and I was shooting from the hip a lot, I was sending out, 2,500 to 5,000 mailers a week. I would go on to property information websites. I don't know if you've heard of Black Knight. Black Knight took over a lot of the property information websites, but one of them was called Title Pro 360. But I could get all this robust information on homes, and so I would just start shotgunning mailers out by the thousands. And at the time, the mortgage business was so robust, it was for a long time, it was easy to have a positive ROI. However, I had no official tracking, the analytics, the things you spoke to. Maybe, I don't know, how about that? We riff off of that for a second.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, you know, I don't think you were doing any of it really wrong, as long as you thought that data source had good data, good qualified data for you to go after. Of course, that's key to us. We just want to make sure that we're not sending junk mail. Essentially, we are sending mail that people want to receive. And if they don't really want it, it's still useful to them if they're in the market for something. And so we try very hard here at Gunderson Direct to make sure that our targeting is on point, so that when you do receive that mail, it's not unwanted at the end of the day. Now, we know that a 1% response rate is kind of the industry average here, at least on our side of the business, the top of funnel prospecting that we do here. But even that 99% of the folks that might not need that product now, or may even throw that mail away, there's a good chance they will want or will need that product at some point. So it's important for us to continue that really sharp targeting and making sure we're getting that mail to the right person. Going back to attribution, yeah, I mean, back in 2008, I think really utilizing offer codes, maybe vanity URLs, those are probably the best ways to get that attribution back. Of course, match back analysis. So depending on the size, sounds like you were doing fairly smaller mailings. Was this mainly for you yourself? Those 8,000 that you were sending out?
Yeah, correct. It was for myself and a small team,
Yeah.
myself and an assistant
Fantastic.
or two, depending on the day.
Yeah, which is good. So 8,000 at the time, you're probably getting a 1, maybe even 2% response rate on that stuff. And so that's plenty of business for you to funnel on the door and start servicing. So, but it is important to keep those analytics, close and making sure that you can read those correctly, because you might be able to make a small nuance. And this is what got me really excited about direct mail marketing back in 2003 at Providia Financials. Changing a call to action, changing a headline, changing an offer, changing the color, changing the format sometimes could make big, big swings in response and conversion rates. And so being able to measure that and track that back in order to figure out what worked and what didn't work just allows you to continue to optimize those direct mail creatives.
I love that. In online land, for anybody watching and listening, that's what you would call split testing, right?
Sure.
You're split testing headlines. So you're batch sending to this, batch sending to that, and what are the responses of the direct mail? Yes,
Yeah, 100%.
I
We
love.
do. Yeah, we do. When it comes to testing, we will typically test multiple things at once, kind of a multivariate test where we're not only testing maybe some offers, we're testing maybe some creatives and maybe some messaging options, and then also as well as testing some listen data options, targeting options. And then we'll be able to roll all that back up, kind of see who our winners were, and then kind of roll that up into hopefully a validation test that will combine some of those elements into one complete package and see if we can't get a higher response rate by combining all that and really serving to send the mail to the folks that will be the highest responders and of course the highest converters.
I love that. So you're, if I heard you correctly, you're saying we're not only testing copy, so color, headlines, fonts, things like that, but also tactically who. So we might have an initial idea of who we want to send it to, but now you start getting nuanced on the who.
That's right.
Was there a third thing in there that
It
you
will
were?
look multiple things. So it could be the who, it could be frequency. So it could be remail tests, it could be formats, it could be headlines, it could be colors, it could be creative, it could be offer, of course. So all of those different elements go into really identifying best performing package and really driving down your cost to acquire those customers, and hopefully increasing those conversion rates. And that's what I love about direct mail, is that you could get a bunch of people to click on an online ad. But by the time they click on that online ad, they read more on the landing page and maybe they're really not interested, or maybe they're not the right customer for that product or service. Whereas direct mail, we do a good job of pre-qualifying these folks before they even receive that mail. And then when they receive that mail, they have ample information to really make that decision. And the biggest challenge for us is taking them offline to online, or taking them offline to a phone call, or taking them offline and driving them to a branch or location. And so if we can do that effectively with the direct mail, we have a pretty high rate of conversion once that happens. They are fairly committed and fairly well informed to go ahead and jump on that landing page at that point, pick up the phone and call somebody, and hopefully be more interested in that product or service than they would have been with just a banner ad or basic social media ad or retargeting.
I love that. I like what you said earlier too about info and value. Or you didn't, maybe didn't say information, but you're putting together a piece, you're direct mailing it, and perhaps somebody takes action on it. But if they don't, you're adding value with it. So someone goes, "Oh, well, maybe I don't need it, or not now." But great information. Gr- Yes, did I
Yes.
hear that? That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
Is
typically our sales letters won't really go into, obviously it's not all about features, right? It's all about the benefits. And those benefits are education as well. And for mailers that have maybe a new brand, new product, new service. So we did a large mailer for Robinhood, right? Well, nobody knows at the time, didn't know who Robinhood was. They came to us to kind of expand that and increase their user base. And there's something magical about a piece of mail that not only describes with ample real estate what that product or service does, but then lends itself to a visual, of course, a logo and a brand promise that you would otherwise get maybe on a banner ad. So the byproduct of a really great direct mail effort is brand awareness, which we really, really love. And our clients, of course, really love it. In fact, there was one company that we kept mailing, we call a stealth envelope, right? So something that has nothing, it's blind or stealth. So it has nothing on the outside of the envelope. And we're mailing that package. That was their control package, mailing it for months and months and months. Well, at the same time, they got into market. They started doing TV ads. They started doing a bunch of other social media ads out of home. So all of a sudden, their logo is everywhere, right? And then what we found was we back tested that. We actually added their logo months in to the outside of the envelope. And we actually found an increase in response rate once we put the logo on the mailer. And that's the big shift. That's a big change with that brand awareness piece is you kind of want to go blind stealth until you build enough awareness, even with other marketing channels. And then you can lean, which Wells Fargo did often, you can lean on that logo to get that envelope opened. And that's a really exciting time.
Very exciting time. I can tell you my best times with mailers were with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. I was sort of rogue at first. I started, when I say rogue, I was just putting together my own mailers because I was new in the mortgage business. And I had started doing very well within Wells Fargo Home Mortgage and gaining attention. And someone said, "Hey, you can't just bootleg your own flyers. You have to go through our process." And I was, yeah. And I was very nervous about that because I was like, Wells Fargo's not going to know what to do. They're only a multi-billion-dollar brand with incredible goodwill at the time.
Well, that's so funny because I will say this. I've seen mailers taken on by realtors who are doing their own marketing, and I've seen mailers by mortgage brokers and by other types of financial services done by the brokers of those businesses, insurance companies, the same thing. And I will say this, and we have kind of a saying in the industry that ugly works, and you might have been a brilliant graphic designer, so take no offense to this, but that more authentic, kind of ugly looking direct mail can or many times, I should say, will get a better response rate than the more polished direct mail that might come out of an agency sometimes or out of the brand itself. Because there's authenticity there that's built in that, hey, Mischa down the street or in my city or in my county sent me this. I see the return address. This is authentic. This is one-to-one. He's reaching out to me. That's a lot more intimate than a large multi-billion-dollar corporation reaching out to me. And so therefore, I'm going to go ahead and take notice. So a lot of times they may not have been on brand, and we always, here at Gunderson Direct, always on brand, but we will push the envelope. We will push a look and feel to some of these larger, well-known brands that might be a little off-putting to them, knowing that it's that authenticity, that more real feel to that direct mail, that more personal touch will often break through the clutter. And so we always push our clients to do different things, but you probably had a better response rate or maybe even a better performing package than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I was very nervous, and what I was creating did well, absolutely. And Wells Fargo, the thing about really that I was getting called to task on is the financial service industries are so highly regulated. Home loans are highly regulated. So you're putting APRs, and I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole on this, but you're putting numbers and APRs and things like that. And you have to have that regulatory stuff
That's right.
down pat so you don't get in trouble in the long term with the regulatory bodies. So that's where I got called to task most. But once I accepted my fate that I was going to need to work with Wells Fargo's marketing department, all went well. And actually, I'll say this, being able to outsource in effect I can't remember the terms now, but to a mail house, in effect, I got to outsource to the Wells Fargo mail house, which is so powerful. It was
That made your
incredible.
life so much easier.
Yeah. And then the other brand that I had a ton of success with was the other company where had my most success was Mutual of Omaha Bank. Have you
Yeah.
heard of Mutual of Omaha Bank?
Of course, we've done a couple creative pieces for Mutual of Omaha. So
Yeah. So Mutual of Omaha Bank, just such a powerful brand name. And I'll tell you what I would do. What I loved about the direct mail, what was really fun for me is I would get these amazing lists. And then what I would do is get what was called a reverse append. And for anybody listening, that's where you go get the phone number for that address, right? So then I would do these massive campaigns. Phone would ring, and up would pop who who. Oh, thank you, Apple gave us the stars,
Yeah.
whatever, the fireworks. But the phone rings, up pops their information, and now I know all their information, their address, their
Yeah.
home loan, everything. That right? That's a very powerful piece that I really loved.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of amazing what can be done. I mean, even from a data perspective, being able to pre-qualify some of those lists, utilizing pre-screen data sometimes, understanding credit scores, and be able to send offers off to folks that you know that if they respond, there's a very high likelihood they're going to get that loan. What you don't want is to send a bunch of direct mail out promising that you're going to be able to refi a house, get a HELOC, get a personal loan for 20, 30, $50,000 to pay for a wedding or do some home improvements. And then you go through this entire process and then you're only approved for $18,000 and it doesn't really serve a purpose at that point. So having that pre-qualified data and be able to deliver, literally deliver communications to folks with products and services that they like, that they then will also be approved for is a huge competitive advantage, right? Because it's not them looking for a loan, clicking on a link, going through the entire process only to find that their FICO cuts off at 750 instead of 850, and therefore they're not viable to receive this loan. So being able to do some of that pre-screen data work ahead of time, making sure that who you're sending this mail to is highly convertible is key to the success of a direct mail program.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else that is very interesting, and I notice it in my neighborhood. So I live in Encinitas, California, and this is direct mail on a very small scale, but you'll be able to extrapolate it out quickly, I'm sure. So I live in Encinitas, California, on what's called the 101 highway. It's right by the beach. It's great area, very popular walking district. New stores pop up all the time. I will go down to the walk around, and there'll be a new store. And there'll be a new store that's been there for months, and I'll have no idea. And I'm trying to remember the most recent store. I wish I could say their name. It's a luggage store. They sell luggage. It's like some fancy millennial new age luggage store. Anyway,
Like
but
a way or something like that.
what's that?
Like a way or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Gosh, I wish I could remember it. Hopefully it'll pop up by the time we're done with this interview. But my point is that there's been somebody could easily go to the local zip code, could get all the homeowners,
Yeah.
get key data that's like, this guy probably needs luggage. He should know that we're in the neighborhood, right? And even offer a discount or a grand opening or something like that. And I'm shocked at the amount of businesses that come and go on the strip here that do none of that.
Well, what's funny about that is that the USPS has like awesome products just for those stores, right? So it's called EDDM or Every Door Direct Mail, and it's an opportunity to essentially go to the USPS, look up EDDM, and then you simply you map out, literally draw a little map around your store and everybody you want to contact, and they will send a piece of direct mail for like 20 cents per impression to everybody in that neighborhood. And to your point, as a grand opening or even a Mother's Day sale, or maybe you're doing something during the summer, maybe you got a boba tea shop and you want to get the word out right after school, school's out, or right when school's in, right? This is the perfect opportunity to send that with what you said, a buy one, get one, a 15% off, a free XYZ when you order XYZ. This is the perfect thing to use direct mail for. Now, we don't do too much EDDM because, as I mentioned earlier, we love the idea of being more targeted. But for that use case, what we call spray and pray, that use probably perfect, right? Because you want to hit everybody in that neighborhood. If you're new to the neighborhood, you want to let as many people know that you're there as possible. Now, on top of that, you can still do saturation mail, where you can still have a little bit of demographic information layered into that. And then actually, instead of, having the EDDM that says for residents of, or, for current resident, you could actually have their first name and their last name, and then also have some kind of high level demographic information like married, homeowner, whatever it might be. And then you're able to then do that same exact tactic with very low cost in order to drive in some new customers with the local neighborhood crowd, which I think is fantastic. So you're right on point.
Yeah, absolutely. How about this too? Oh, can't remember who I was interviewing, but they had some good, robust experience in direct mail. And they were talking about, have QR codes on your mailers and then build your email list, build your list, get them on the list, get them on the list,
Yeah.
right? And I think there's so many opportunities for that, and not to go down the small business rabbit hole, but for local restaurants and this the luggage store or whatever, and get them on your list so you can have a promotion, you can market to them, you can get them in the store. um, the restaurants that send me a little something in my neighborhood in the mail, I go down there and check
Yeah.
them out again, right? It's as simple as that. Um, I, I'm curious, and maybe in 5 minutes or less, give me, like, we've been all over the place, and it's clear you know what you're doing. And I mean, I say that with an open heart. It's clear you have a ton of knowledge, but I want to give someone a picture of the power in what you do. And so maybe give me a use case or a case study or something that walks me through. It either could be a brand new company or an existing company where you show them an ROI. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think we have kind of a couple different clients here at Gunderson Direct. So we have full service clients. Those are folks that want us to handle their direct mail program, soup to nuts, from start to finish, and then essentially grow and scale that direct mail program. We also have more a la carte services where we might just handle production, or we might just handle creative. Gunderson Direct started as a creative direct mail agency before anything else. So creative has always been top of mind. I was a graphic designer. I came in and as I mentioned, I just love the analytics of direct mail. So being able to make a change here or there and really see real effect on that direct mail response is kind of the most satisfying thing you could ever do, right? You can't really see that sometimes with out of home. You can't really see that with other types of advertising, where you can literally just change the entire trajectory of a direct mail campaign by just increasing the offer or changing the messaging around. So that's really exciting. What we do for clients is they'll come to us typically because they've kind of hit the glass ceiling when it came to digital marketing. So maybe they're a B2B client, maybe they're a financial or fintech client, and they've done a lot of marketing. They had really good success at the beginning, but then as they started scaling that digital marketing, they also started bidding against everybody else in that space. And hey, there are big players in that space. So if you have a competitor to Salesforce, they're going to outbid you almost every time on those same keywords, right? So as you start to scale that digital effort, you start to actually pay more per impression. A direct mail is the opposite. So as our pilot costs for our programs are actually the most expensive they'll ever be. And then as we scale the program, because it's a manufacturing process, the cost per impression actually decreases, which is kind of a really exciting thing for offline media, right? And so what we'll do is a company will come to us and say, look, we want to compete. We want to get in front of our customers. We'll utilize a lot of times their lead list. We'll use their customer list to start to develop a lookalike model, much like you would do in a Facebook or social media campaign. We'll develop that using address-based data. And then from that, we will develop a model based off of the behavior, firmographic and demographic information, maybe even transactional information about those customers, and then send them a direct mail piece. So first, we're getting at a very high level, we're getting very targeted very early, right? We start with a pilot program of about 150,000 pieces. This is important. We can't go out with 5,000 pieces. We can't go out with 10,000 pieces. We really got to go out broader in order to really, get a good sample size of the folks that are responding and how we might be able to optimize that over time. So from there, we develop creative, we develop our targeting strategy. We work with the US, our production partners in printing, and then we work with the USPS to ensure that we're getting the best postage rate possible. And then when it's all wrapped up and sent out, we wait. We get responses and conversion metrics from our clients. We push that into our analytics software. We build out an analysis deck for them, review everything we learned, and then if we did our job right, and our clients have a good enough product and service, obviously, we then start to work on scaling that program to reach more folks, to get more top of funnel leads or more customers for their direct mail effort. So, and that's how it works. And I always say this, it's not that that digital doesn't work. It works great, but there's a ceiling there. And the thing is all your competitors are doing digital. I guarantee it. But not all your competitors are doing direct mail. So for me, this is a secret weapon. This is something that you can do as a company, even at a smaller level, even if it's retargeting, website retargeting, right? To where, say you go to Home Depot and you start putting a bunch of stuff in your cart, and then you decide, you know what, I'm too busy. I'm gonna abandon this cart. I'll come back to it later. Well, you can shoot off a retargeting postcard. Within a day or two, you'll receive a postcard that even has maybe the image of what you were shopping for that says, hey, come back, finish up your transaction and get 10% off. Well, that's a real one-on-one right there. Okay. I abandoned cart. I forgot to go back. I come back and I got a postcard telling me to go ahead and come back and finish up that transaction. What's cool about that is the impression rate on that is actually pretty low to get into direct mail, and it doesn't really cost you anything. You're only getting charged for the retargeting, people who had intent in the first place. So I always tell customers that have smaller budgets, look, the best thing you can do is just get into retargeting. That doesn't cost you a lot of money, and it's super easy to set up. And then from there, you can start to determine, okay, is direct mail something that I want to put more of my marketing budget towards in order to actually have a whole new channel to start driving in leads? I know there's a lot, but that's essentially the way we work here at Gunderson Direct.
Well, I love that. If I heard you correctly, well, you said a number of great things. One, everybody's doing digital marketing. Not everybody is doing direct mail, and clearly it's ripe for the pickings right now. I feel like having some experience with it and seeing the bloody red ocean of digital marketing. But this idea of the abandoned cart. So if I heard you correctly, if somebody's shopping online and they don't buy something, a postcard can go out and
That's
say,
right.
hey,
And in fact, it doesn't even have to be retail. It doesn't have to be transactional. So I could be going to, another good example might be a B2B SaaS company. Maybe they are doing something in project management software, right? Well, they can essentially get that address and IP information, turn that into an actual address, and be able to then shoot off a postcard within that same day, first class mail, and be able to get that postcard to you in 2 or 3 days. So it's a really cool way to engage your audience and be able to essentially fulfill the promise that they came to your website for in the first place.
so if I heard you correctly, someone could come to your website, they're looking around, you know what their IP address is, and now you can send them a mailer.
Well, and what's cool too is within some of these, there's Pebble Post, there's Postalytics, there's Direct Mail 2.0. There's a couple of companies that are really, really good at this. And what they're able to do is also set up rules. So it could be, I don't want to trigger off a postcard to anybody unless they've gone 3 pages into my website and have spent at least 2.5 minutes on the website. So there's true interest in somebody browsing my website before I shoot them off a postcard. So again, you're talking about, for a small business, you're talking about maybe, $500 a month to do a direct mail campaign. And for large companies like a Pottery Barn or something like that, you're probably talking $15,000 to $20,000 a month, but still much, much smaller than doing like a traditional acquisition top of funnel campaign that we do for our clients. So it's just, for me, it's just a really good way to get people used to the idea of direct mail, kind of get them like, okay, it does work. I see what's happening here. Yeah, we're engaging. And then from there, okay, well, maybe we should try this on the acquisition, cross-sell, upsell, or win back of some of our customer base and be able to really start to reach our customers where they might have not have been looking before. And again, where our customers are, where our competitors are not reaching them. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about direct.
That is freaking cool. You are telling me some super fun, great information. I'm just thinking of the rule basis of the rules where you could say, we know that when people click on this web page and that web page and then go back to the original, if they do that 4 times,
Yeah.
that's who we want to send the the flyer to, the mailer to, the
Well, and not
postcard
only
to.
that, not only that, Misha, you can also have different creatives based off of where they dropped in on your site. So you can have if they went to your FAQs, you could send a creative really based around more information around their product. If they went to a specific product within your site, you can send them a direct mail postcard or letter that just talks about that product. And that's what's really powerful about it is you can actually have custom creative based off of the pages that they visit on your website.
Amazing. By the way, everybody listening, so Mike here has a book. You can go to gundersondirect.com/book, gundersondirect.com/book. It's a free book, the 2024 Direct Mail Lookbook. Get an inside look at the formats, designs, and copy that we use to break through the clutter, increase engagement, and boost response. And my favorite thing about this little link as I was looking at it, when you opt in to get the book, you get a hard copy of this book. Yes.
Well, what we love about it is it's just a bunch of the creative we've done for our clients over the years. And for me, at least when I talk to my design team, and even when I was doing a lot of the design myself, but the key to really getting successful with direct mail is really seeing what's out there, what's being used, what are people, what are some of the tactics they're using, how are they laying out the QR code. And so this book has just, I mean, I think we counted, it's got like 400 examples of different creative that you can easily analyze, kind of look at and get some inspiration about how you might want that direct mail to look when you develop it. So yeah, check it out. It's free, gundersondirect.com/book. And order it. We will ship it out to you. We won't bother you. We won't even mail you beyond that. We hold to our promise. But we do have a little button if you are interested in learning more about our services. You can just click that button and we will contact you. But if you don't, we're just going to send out the book and hopefully they can enjoy it.
Yeah. So people could model the ads or the copy or how you call it in that book. They could literally draw inspiration and model exact things that work.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And just going back to QR codes, you mentioned that briefly, but QR codes, because of the pandemic, really, talk about Wells Fargo. We were the very first people to bring a QR code to a Wells Fargo acquisition mailing. It was for student lending, and it was a QR code right on the outside of the envelope. It was a 2-window envelope. The one window had their address, second window had a QR code showing through, and we were excited about that. And we thought QR codes were the future. And then, 2, 3, 4 years later, they just kind of never really took off. And then this thing happened called the pandemic, and everybody was eager for touchless technology, right? I don't want to touch it. Whatever I can do to scan, both, restaurants were using them, a lot more QR codes showing up on posters and point of sale. And so what we saw was a huge resurgence in that technology. And why marketers like that is that we can get direct attribution back to the direct mail piece. And as you know, the issue, especially with somebody like Wells Fargo, is that if they're offering a home equity line of credit and they see a postcard, a letter, a self-mailer, and they're ready to respond, more times than not, about 40% of the time, they are going right into Google, and they're, instead of putting in the URL that they see right on the direct mail piece, they're going right into Google, typing in Wells Fargo home equity line of credit, hitting enter, and then clicking through until they get to the product, making it way harder on themselves. But that's just how people do things. They don't want to even type in wellsfargo.com/home equity may offer, right? Whatever it might be. And so what the QR code has done is it's retrained behavior to where people are like, okay, yeah, QR codes. I've been doing that a lot lately. I'm going to continue doing that on the direct mail pieces that I receive. And what that's done is it's increased the usage of QR codes, which is awesome, increase the attribution, obviously. And that consumer, when they're scanning that QR code with their phone, is really expecting a really clean mobile experience that will allow them to get to the information that they want to get to very quickly, and really moving them through that funnel and conversion process to hopefully get them closer to being a customer. And so QR codes now for Gunderson Direct, we put them on every piece of mail that goes out, because we know that more people than not are going to be scanning that QR code. And if they do scan that QR code, we're going to get that direct attribution.
Amazing. And direct attribution in common guy languages, you know where that call originated from or the order originated from, or even more specifically that direct piece that piece of mail triggered something, a purchase or whatever it is,
That's right. Well,
right?
there's two kinds of attribution. There's the one where we have a QR code for every piece of creative that goes out. So that could be it's still a generic QR code, but it's specific to the mailer itself. And then we have one-on-one attribution where the QR code is actually personalized for every single recipient that we mail to. So when they scan that QR code, not only do I know the direct mail piece and the offer and the list they came from, but I actually know exactly who that customer is. One-on-one attribution. That means if I can get that information, I can retarget them, right? I can then get a sales guy on Salesforce to say, okay, this person scanned the QR code. Maybe they didn't even get through the funnel, but now I can pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, this is so-and-so from XYZ. Can we help you out with a loan today, whatever it might be? And so that one-on-one is very cool in order to not only get that direct attribution back to the marketing piece, but also back to the individual that responded.
Amazing. The current market environment, it's a bloody red ocean out there in digital marketing land. You're a direct mail specialist. You've been in it forever. Well, a long time. I'm not sure how old you are, but
Years.
how long? Say it again.
25 years I've been. So
25
Gunderson
years.
Direct is 21 years this year, and I've been at this for about 25 years.
And are you first generation direct mail, or did you come into dad's business or the family business, or?
No, I came out to be a graphic designer before before my mom was able to bring me into Costa Mesa. You probably know where that is.
Yes.
I was living in Corona, California, laying carpet, and I saw my mom, and she said, you should really be using your talents, and so she got me into college up there in Irvine, and I lived with her for a couple of years, and I just fell in love with graphic design, and so from there, I came up to San Francisco. I ended up working for Chevron and then Providian, but I'm first generation when it comes to design, but I'm not first generation when it comes to owning businesses. My grandfather has owned his business for most of his life. My dad has owned his business once or twice over the course of his life. And so I think it does run in the family, being able to kind of, I don't know, kind of slate your own destiny, right? Being able to be your own boss and be able to make your own rules.
Yeah, cool. It just hit me. You know who Russell Brunson is? Have you heard of that name before?
I have, yeah.
So he's really big in one-to-many online sales, webinars, Facebook ads, all that kind of stuff. He's a master at it in his little in his fiefdom. He's got a company called ClickFunnels where it automates or streamlines building funnels. So you were talking about top of funnel. You get your funnel on the website, upsells, downsells, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Okay, so how he got in obsessed with funnels was his obsession with direct mail in his youth. And so he's 40, 45, and he says he's been in the business 20 years. And so he shows pictures of how he was obsessed with all the direct mail that he would get, and he had boxes of it. And one picture, he's covered in it, right? And I'm thinking, you probably sent him a whole bunch of that direct mail.
That's right. Probably. I mean, I think we've estimated billions that we haven't sent out ourselves, but that we've helped with some of these larger corporations in developing direct mail creative. So, you know, and I think it's frowned upon, obviously, for some folks to send out that much volume, but it is pretty cool to actually sit at home and get a piece that you've developed for a client or a customer, and actually have that delivered to your mailbox. Realize that you are the target customer. My clients, sometimes I am the target customer for my clients, and being able to get that direct mail, knowing that we did it right. So it's really exciting when that happens. And again, it's part of the overall mix. It can't be the one tactic, but it can definitely be something to enhance your tactics. It could be auxiliary to the other media that you're in. But for us and for our customers, it's a real one uh, because of its targeting and because of its ability to be tracked. I think those two things allow us to prove out direct mail every single month, that it's worked for our clients. We're making enhancements and we're getting better every day. It's funny because some of the clients that we'll work with will have a CAC, customer acquisition cost goal. Um, and they'll be like, if we can drive in customers at $500 per customer, we'll do that all day, every day. And then we'll work with them 2-3 years, and they'll be like, if we can drive those customers at $250, that would be the best thing all day, every day. And it is funny how it shifts because we are working to drive down those acquisition costs, but we're always challenged to beat the month before and the month before that and the month before that.
Darn sales. Darn sales. What have you done for me lately?
Exactly.
Uh, so I think it's so interesting too. It's junk mail till you have it in your hands and you're like, oh, I need that.
That's right. That's
Or
right.
it's telemarketing until you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called at this exact second. Or whatever. Or we get the click thing. We click on it. So I I'm envisioning you again, seasoned pro in direct mail, working with massive companies. You've been a part of, again, billions of pieces of mail. And when you look out in the environment now, is there a niche or is there an industry where you're just frothing and you're like, oh my gosh, they have no idea what is available to them?
Well, one of the things that we're kind of focusing on now and that we've seen a lot of success with, we work with some very large B2B finance, fintech, um, HR type companies, right? So ZipRecruiter, and we worked with Square, and we worked with PayPal for business loans. We've worked with these guys. One thing we know is that is a hard nut to crack. And so with targeting capabilities, we're able to get that piece of mail, not only targeting capabilities, but really overall design tactics to get that direct mail to the decision maker and get it to the person that is most likely to convert on that direct mail, and allow them to become aware of that brand or service or product and get them to respond. And that's been a really great vertical for us to focus on because it's really hard to do that on social media sometimes. You have LinkedIn, you have maybe a couple other B2B type channels, but where we can actually understand who the business is, understand who's going to get that direct mail piece, who's going to be moved by that piece of creative in order to get them to take action, and then make it easy for them to do that. That's a pretty cool tactic at the end of the day. That is a secret weapon at the end of the day. And so B2B SaaS and even small business companies, I think, can be just a really great target for direct mail, usually because the CACs are typically a little bit higher on those. If you're selling a widget for, 20, 40, 60, maybe even up to $100, sometimes it's difficult to get that direct mail to pay out. It's just hard. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a manufacturing process. As I mentioned, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. So having a CAC or an acquisition cost of anywhere between $250 to $1,000 or a lifetime value of a $250 or $1,000 makes direct mail very, very acceptable as a marketing channel to drive leads. So if you can support those kinds of CACs, direct mail is definitely something that you should be leaning into, because not only can you achieve those, but then you can also scale that. The universe is a lot larger. The conversions are much higher. And so you can actually support those kinds of marketing costs, payback on an ROI basis based off of the response and conversion rates you're going to get from that direct.
CAC, cost to acquire a customer. Is that what
Yeah.
you called? Yeah, cool. So,
Right. Well, it's customer acquisition costs.
customer acquisition cost. There it is. Customer acquisition cost. Hold on, I'm just typing
Or
furiously.
CPA. We used to call it CPA in direct mail, and then everybody in the digital world started calling it CAC, but we called it cost per acquisition back in the day. But we move our metrics kind of wherever our clients want us to move our metrics. So whatever they
Sure.
care about is what we.
We want it to be CAC.
That's
Sure. So if I'm hearing you correctly, again, let me just repeat this to you. So B2B, you said B2B, SaaS, and you might have said another.
SaaS, finance, insurance, HR services, really anything that can help automate your business and that also has a subscription tied to it.
Yes.
That's usually higher ROI, higher lifetime value, and those higher lifetime value products obviously can help support the cost of direct mail. And then when it comes to financial services, as you know, probably is if you have an American Express credit card, you might also want an American Express travel service. You may also want an American Express savings account, right? And so they know, financial institutions know that, yes, it might. That's why you see these crazy offers, these $500,000 offers, like, hey, open up a bank account, we'll give you $1,000. That's insane. That's insane. Let's think about it. That's ridiculous, right? But they know over the course of that lifetime, if we can bring them in, show our value, let them see all the other products and services that we offer, especially when you bundle, right? All of a sudden, that $1,000 acquisition cost, that $1,000 they give you over the course of a lifetime of you being a customer, it can be worth 15, 20, even 100. If you get a mortgage through one of these companies, it could be worth $100,000, right? So that's why it's important to drive that top of funnel lead, that fresh customer oftentimes, because if you have a higher LTV opportunity, you want to be able to drive those customers in and essentially make as much money as you can over the course of that lifetime value.
Yeah. Yeah. Lifetime value. I know. I being from the loan industry, LTV, loan to value, but lifetime value. So one thing that Wells Fargo loved about me was I was really gifted at, and I would get the home loan in, and then the next thing you know, I've got the person teed up for accounts or checking, savings, talk to the investment person, this, that, and the other, like the breadth of service. So they were almost willing to have a little bit of a loss lead on me, like you were just talking about, because they knew that I would drive all these other product sales. Anyway.
Well, what's interesting is like for financial institutions, when they're doing customer marketing, cross sell or upsell, right? That there's so much rich data within those customer bases. And so the ability to have a loan and then sell them a home equity line of credit, a second mortgage, a new mortgage on maybe a vacation home. The idea of just marketing to that base and not even having to go outside of that, knowing that they paid their bills every year, every month, knowing that you likely have, because you're a financial institution, you likely know exactly what their credit scores are. You know exactly how long they've been in their home. You know that they've never, missed a payment. I mean, these are, who wouldn't want that when you're underwriting loans, right? And so even marketing to that customer base, it's too many companies rely on email for all that communication, in my opinion. I mean, it's just, who's looking at that? Who doesn't already have their email client trained to just remove that from their inbox? And so where you're going to break through even on customer mail, it's so often used in acquisition mail, top of funnel prospecting, but really sending mail to your customer base. I mean, that's where you're going to really break through because you think, well, I have a one-on-one, they're my customer. They're gonna respond to my email. They may, and you have a way higher likelihood of them doing that once they're your customer than if they weren't. But if you're not getting any movement there, you're getting fairly low click through rates. Send a direct mail piece and see how that works. I mean, send one direct mail piece for every 10 emails and see what kind of conversion you might be able to get out of that. I the clients that we do it for see big upticks in response when they are adding a mail piece to their email marketing.
So is that a favorite client of yours? Someone comes in, they're doing all this email, and maybe they're thinking customer acquisition outside of this and outside of what they're already doing, and you look at their portfolio of
We
services or emails or whatever,
we
and you
do
say,
love
start here.
we do love companies that have like multiple silos or multiple business uh, products or units within their business. So I like working with financial institutions because if I can get in there and start bringing in new checking accounts, then maybe that department over there will want me to come in and start working on how we can get some new home equity line of credits in the door, and then that their colleague says, "Oh, who's doing your direct mail? Hey, do you think they might be able to help us with overdraft protection and doing a mailer there?" So there's all kinds of different business units within these larger corporations that we love to be a part of because we're trained on the brand, right? We understand, kind of the compliance around those mailers. We understand the cost, right? So we're not going to develop a bunch of creative that's ridiculously expensive to produce. We're going to make sure everything is in line and everything's going to be producible. And so they like working with us when we've already worked on multiple other business units within the bank in order to make sure that they're going to get a nice, consistent product. It's going to drive response and essentially make it really easy for them to turnkey a direct mail program.
You know what I love about you, Mike? Is I'll tell you some experience I've got in the home loan business or my experience in it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is relates exactly to how you can leverage and take advantage of direct mail. So I've got another one for you, and I'm excited to hear what how you're gonna say this. So because I know you have this is going to inspire something creative in you. So in the home loan business, there's loan originators. You bring the loan in, the underlying note or who the money gets sold off to Wall Street, and really the rest of it is the servicing rights. So and Wells Fargo goes out there and buys the servicing rights of like who you make your loan payment to, and right, and then Wells Fargo actually goes and pays Wall Street, right? The collateralized debt obligation or whatever you want to call it. I don't mean to go down this rabbit hole, but Wells Fargo is out there, and I'm sure the model works in the financial services and the home loan business still to this day. Are those servicing portfolios with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of loans? You buy those servicing rights, and now you've just acquired a customer base to market to.
That's right.
Right?
And they should be. And the problem is a lot of times well, and I will say that when that loan gets sold out, they are giving initial communication oftentimes, usually by mail,
Yeah.
and oftentimes by email, but they could be much more aggressive in really selling. Okay, because I don't know about you, but when that happens to me, I kind of get a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like I'm just a number, the Bob Seger song. I just feel like okay, I'm just a number. I got this loan. I withdraw this. I've signed all these documents to get this loan at this rate, and it doesn't really bother me financially because I'm not losing anything as a consumer. But sometimes I will be signed up with a really good brand, and then I'll get sold off to some brand that I don't really know or haven't really dealt with in the past. Well,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to start to build a relationship, and that relationship could be as easy as sending a direct mail piece that maybe has a guide and maybe it allows me to see the other features that this bank might offer that I had no idea they offered. a cross-sell opportunity in the form of a magazine or a booklet. Could even just be like a multi-panel brochure that just kind of goes through exactly what they're all about and why this is important to me. And I don't think they do. What I get and what you probably have seen is I get a number 10 letter with flimsy paper that basically says this loan has been sold to this bank. Welcome. If you have any questions, call this number. And then that's it. There's not even any marketing on it. And at that point, I'm like, I wouldn't mind even being marketed to. Like, what? Okay. Do I get any benefit out of this?
Yeah.
Other than you getting the benefit of having my loan now, by the way, a very low risk individual, do I get any benefit now from your bank? This is your opportunity. And I think more institutions should take that opportunity to really introduce themselves and utilize that medium to really tell a story at that point.
Well, I'm just thinking too, as we're talking here, as companies are out there buying other companies and in effect buying a list or buying a customer base, what a massive opportunity to leverage good quality direct mail as you're introducing yourself, which oftentimes is horrible at best to non-existent.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm going to circle back around, and then I there's one other thing, and then I want to be mindful of time. So I want to circle back around to the B2B the B2B, where you're sending flyers to decision makers or direct mail pieces, or what do you call it? You said some format to a decision maker in a business. What's like minimum investment or minimum size for something like that? I might be saying this wrong, but minimum market size, because that sounds much more tailored and smaller than sending out perhaps.
Yeah, it's definitely not as big as like a national consumer mailing, right? But like if you're dealing with B2B companies, so maybe you have a company over here, right? And they're servicing SMBs, so companies that have 20 or more employees. So maybe 20 to 1,000 employees, right? There's quite a few businesses that fit that bill. And then there's quite a few contacts within those businesses that might be interested in that product or service. Our goal is to make sure that what we're doing is, if we have an HR product, for instance, we want to make sure that's going to the HR hiring manager, right? We don't want it to go to everybody. Now, what's interesting is if I'm going to a business that has 20 to 50 to 100 to maybe 500 employees, I want to send that to the HR manager, right? Somebody who's making the decision on that. But if I'm sending it to somebody who has 5 to 20 employees, I might send it to not only the HR manager if they have one, but I'll also definitely be sending it to the CEO or the founder or the president of that company. So having those decisions in place to make sure that that mail is going to the decision maker at the time of when they are in business, right? If they're a small business, send it to that person. If they're a larger business, send it to these 4 or 5 different people, and then try to optimize our success on that mailer. That's key. The other thing is as you get into those bigger businesses, over 28 employees, you want to make sure that you're getting past the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is your office manager, right? That the CEO said, hey, just give me my bills, just give me the important stuff. I don't want any marketing in my pile of mail. Okay. So we got to get past that. And often ways we do that is through stealth or blind envelopes, as I mentioned. Maybe we'll make the direct mail look like a check. So maybe it's for a business line of credit, right? We'll make it look like a check. We're all looking for checks, right? In our businesses. If I see a check, I'm opening it, even if I know it's direct mail. And then once I open it, I pay it off with something that of value. It's a good offer. The check helps let me visualize having $100,000 to help grow my business, right? And so I'll use that tactic not only to get you in the envelope, but also to get you to really see the value of this offer. And so that's unique in that we are able to do that. I can get it to the gatekeeper, get it past the gatekeeper, get it to the person that makes the decisions, open up that envelope. And then once they do, they're not completely pissed at me because they got tricked into this, but they're also seeing the benefits, the headline, the value of their service, of their loan product. And then you're seeing a check, right, that says $1,000 that you can start to visualize and say, I could really use that money right now to grow my business.
Yeah. Quick, and I wanted to go deeper into how you got into the business, but you gave us a little bit of a taste. But what's the one big thing that keeps people from or decision makers from taking advantage of direct mail? Are they thinking, or is it preconceived notions? So they're older. Those decision makers are usually older and they're thinking direct mail is old, it doesn't work anymore. Or is it they can't visualize the ROI or get their arms around it? Or
A big one for us, at least in the companies that we're pitching, is investment to the channel, right? Because I've been doing this for so long. I know that there's a threshold we have to meet, and that 150,000 pieces of mail is about right. Now, that's not to say you can't do direct mail with smaller volumes. You can, but the type of businesses that we want to bring on to really do direct mail at scale, that's kind of our threshold. And so sometimes that investment is hard. One, uh, the one that kills us, that we, unless there's some crazy magical AI dust we can start to put on it, is manufacturing. I mean, it takes us a week or two to develop the direct mail, the creative. It takes us about a week to a week and a half to actually produce the direct mail, stuff the envelope, print it on paper, and it takes the USPS up to between 8 to 15 days to deliver that mail. So you're just looking at a time that digital marketers aren't used to. They're like, well, just put it out there and let's start reading the analytics and let's start scaling this thing. But we got to make it, we got to build it, right? We got to design it, we got to build it, and then we got to ship it. And then we got to wait, because consumers are consumers. We got to wait about another week to 2 weeks before they even respond to it. And then, and only at that point, we can do our first matchback analysis. Other than QR codes, right, and vanity URLs, we're able to see some real-time analytics there. But you don't really want to make huge decisions till you really bake in that entire mailing, so that you can then have an informed decision moving forward. So you're looking at a good almost 2 months from start to finish before you even start receiving some of those analytics to make those decisions. Now, once we get them at scale and we start, it's kind of a flywheel, we're able to then, kind of backstart every month further and further back to where we get on a really nice cadence with our clients. So where we can drop weekly, we can drop bi-monthly, we can drop monthly, quarterly, whatever cadence they want. And then we can back into those timetables once we have this program running.
beautiful. Have you ever saved anybody's job where they come to you and they say, I need to generate business now? And I've tried it all, like, help me.
I'm going to tell you, when I say sometimes people say it's our secret weapon. If they're willing to try the channel and be successful at it, and I'm not going to try to toot on this horn, but if you can hire an agency to help you out with that process and be successful early, you will be the hero. Now, you're not the sexiest one in the office, all right? Talking about direct mail is not sexy, all right? It's just, but you will have the lowest CAC. You will have the largest portion of that budget most of the time, and you're going to be delivering the most customers to that channel than any other channel. And not only that, you're going to be delivering much higher conversions as well. So if you're the person, I've had some young people work here at the company, and as a young person, it's kind of like, well, direct mail, I'm not sure. And I said, look, if you do this and you work with us and you learn about direct mail, you will have something special to go out into the market with. You can still have all your digital marketing. You can still have all these new things, AI coming down the track, but having that old school tactic in the back of your pocket, knowing and understanding how that works, is a huge advantage in the world of everybody's just looking at digital all the time. And multiple employees from Gunderson Direct have went on to actually become direct mail managers, run direct mail programs at other fintech and financial companies. And we're really proud about that.
Mike, you are amazing. So quick, inevitably, I want to absolutely, we're hitting the time limit, and I know
Sure.
you're a busy man, and you probably have a billion flyers to send out. So before we hit stop, and I'd like to ask everybody this, is there something inevitably when I hit end, you're going to go, oh, I wished I'd have said, or I meant to say, or something like that? Is there anything that comes to your mind in that regard?
Well, the one thing I wanted to mention was we've always strived to be innovative here at Gunderson Direct, and it's hard to do in the direct mail channel sometimes. So we were the first to bring voice assistant technology to direct mail, meaning you could open up a direct mail piece and you could ask Alexa to respond to that direct mail. She would then give you information about it, and you could even receive a text message afterwards if you wanted to learn more. So we were excited about that. And Alexa, it's still very cool technology, but it's definitely not where we thought it was going to be. So we've recently developed this new technology called Post Reminder, and essentially it's an enhanced QR code. And nowhere ever have you ever been able to look at a direct mail piece and set a mobile reminder for that direct mail piece. Meaning, if I send you a postcard for a Mother's Day sale that's going to be happening at the Gap, right? You're going to see that. You're going to get awareness about that sale, and then you're going to likely put it off to the side, put it in your purse, put it on the bulletin board, and hopefully get back to it at some point before that sale starts. What Post Reminder does allows you to scan that QR code and set a reminder instantly just by putting in your phone number about when that sale is going to start. So you receive that postcard just a few days before the sale starts, scan the QR code, put in your phone number, and then when that sale starts, you will receive an alert right to your mobile phone with a link, a shop link, apply for a credit card link, whatever link you want on that text message. And now that direct mail has become actionable on the day it matters when the sale opens. And if it's a multi-day sale, an example of the Gap, they have their sales events usually last between 5 and 10 days. You'll receive one additional alert one day before the end of that sale so that you have no reason not to take advantage of that 30% off next order.
The numbers on that have to be ridiculous. And before you answer that question, postreminder.com, we probably
That's
should
right.
have started with postreminder.com. But anyway, I love that we're ending with it, and let's take a few more minutes, and I want to give you more time to talk about it because it's amazing, and I'm staring at it right over here. Postreminder.com. Finally, get your customers to take action when timing matters.
That's
Built
right.
for direct marketers, Post Reminder is a robust platform that allows your prospects to set a reminder for your offer, sale, or event. So is it quick and easy, or because that sounds good on paper or
Oh,
on
so
screen?
quick.
Yeah.
Simply, again, taking kind of jumping on this QR code resurgence bandwagon, we said, what is the best way that we can remind folks of these direct mail offers after they've received that mailer? And they have intent. They're excited about it, but maybe they can't take advantage of it right now. And the sales event reminder is exactly the way it was intended. That's perfect use case for Post Reminder, right? You need that alert when you get that postcard because that postcard's coming before the sale starts. But think about life insurance. If you receive a life insurance mailer, you might even have intent and wanting to do, that creative was compelling. You want to definitely take advantage of that life insurance offer. But let's face it, I know I'm going to have to gather some documents. I know I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about myself. I know that this process is going to take anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes, right? And I'm just about ready to go out and take my son to football practice, or I'm just about ready to leave and go shopping or hang out with my family somewhere, right? So what you can do is you can scan that QR code and set your own reminder. You can say, remind me this weekend, remind me tomorrow, remind me a week from now. And you will receive that same exact link offline to online, going right onto the mobile phone. Take that link, transact right from that alert that you receive when you set it, when it's convenient for you. And that's really exciting technology. Nowhere ever have you ever been able to do that with direct mail, to set a reminder for that offer. And what's great about that use case is if you have an expiration date on that offer, which almost everybody should, best practice, right? We will also not only send them the alert the day they choose when they want to be reminded, but we'll send them one more alert one day before that offer expires. So there's no chance that they're going to miss that offer if they want to get to it later.
Amazing. And the numbers, the responses, the ROI, is it off the charts since
Yeah,
you're
we've
sort
been
of first
doing
mark?
a couple of really great programs for the Gap and Banana Republic. And the numbers are really good. We're getting about an 82% engagement rate on that QR code. So everybody who scans that QR code, they're doing something with it. They're either setting reminders or they're after. What's great about this QR code, by the way, is I get that mailer before the sales event. I scan the QR code. I set a reminder to then take advantage of the offer. If I get that mailer or see that mailer after the sales event starts, that QR code is still super useful in transacting. I can still use that QR code to go right online after the sale starts and continue to transact. So it essentially elongates the life of that direct mail piece, both physically and digitally via your mobile device. And so I think on our last one for Black Friday, we had over 3,000 scans. Out of that, 42% of those scans set a reminder. And out of that, and this could be doubled up, meaning that not only did they scan once, they may have scanned it twice. 60% of the people went directly to the website. So you're looking at a QR code now off of a postcard that is driving interaction, driving more revenue, driving more sales for that company based off of a very simple, creative, technological change and process of what a QR code used to do. So now that enhanced QR code is just allowing the consumer to do so much more with that scan.
Wow. So what's your favorite hobby that you do?
I ride motorcycles and I have a very unique Morgan three-wheeler that I like to bout around town in.
Okay. So were you riding your motorcycle, or sleeping or having dinner with your wife or family, and all of a sudden you had this idea and you spit the food out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, this is what we need to do with QR codes.
You know what it was is I was sitting down with my head of data and analytics here at the agency, and we were going back and forth on some analysis from one of our clients. And what we were looking at is we were looking at response curves. And we were like, gosh, what's interesting here is we're getting a huge peak of the response curve just about 15 days after the mail drops. And then we saw about a 10-day gap, and then we saw another spike, spike right before the expiration date, right? And then we saw another 10 or 15 days go by, and then we saw another little spike. And we're like, this response curve should only be 10 days, but it just keeps going. People are holding on to their direct mail. They're just holding on to it, and then they're getting to it at some point. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just somehow automate that getting to it at some point process? And that's what we came out with Post Reminder. So what if the QR code not only drove them to respond, which is what we wanted to do, but gave them the option to get a reminder about this mail offer later on when it's convenient for them, when they think they might need a HELOC because they know that they're going to have to send a kid through college, or they know they're going to need a HELOC because they're just finishing up their plans for a new kitchen. They don't need it now, but they know they need it probably a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple months. Why can't we make that QR code remind them via their mobile device that it's time to act? And that's where that idea came from.
It's beautiful. How long from aha moment to people could take advantage of it as a service? How long did you to get that to market?
Yeah, we got, I started sketching. In fact, because I think this is going to be the biggest thing ever, right? But I've kept the sketches and kind of the evolution of the design. And so we, working with some partners, were able to build this thing out in about 4 months for proof of concept. And they got it out to market, getting Gab as our first customer, first large customer, which we were excited about because it's retail. It's exactly what we built this for. Not much after that. And so we were able to get that in market, get our first analytics, really see this thing, kind of really hit it out of the park, if you will. And so we've been super excited because we're on maybe our 9th or 10th campaign with them. And they seem to be very excited about the technology. They continue to utilize it, and they love seeing that those numbers are growing every single time we mail it. And I think their customers are starting to get used to the fact that they can set these reminders, and that behavior is going to be really exciting because if we get it on enough things, people are going to be like, well, I'll just set a reminder. Maybe I see a movie poster for something playing in the summer. I'm going to just scan that, get a reminder when that movie opens. So there's all these, concerts and pre-sale tickets and everything else. There's such a big use case. In fact, we have a post reminder. We also have vote reminder, which allows people to get a reminder on who to vote for. When you get all those mailers in, and you're like, I really like Marie Smith, and I think she's going to be great. And you put it off to the side, but by the time you end up at the ballot box, you're just kind of like, who was that again? So now you get that reminder right to your phone, not only saying vote for Marie Smith, but also includes her entire slate card of everything else you should be voting for when you're in that ballot box. So essentially a voting cheat sheet comes to you the day the polls open, along with a link, of course, to your closest polling location. So we've really thought about it all, and so we're excited about Vote Reminder too, and see where we might be able to get some traction on that this election cycle.
Amazing. This one, I don't know how you'll sell it to the government, but one of the last reminders that I just put in my phone was to pay my property taxes.
Yes.
You could do
I think
property tax reminder. Huh?
I agree with you. I think those are the kinds of use cases. So I'm thinking acquisition, top of funnel type stuff. But yeah, just your basic reminders. I got an HOA ballot the other day. I'm never going to remember to vote for, I don't have time. But if I scan it and you remind me and I get a link to go vote online, I will do that. So there's all kinds of different use cases, and we're starting to grow. We're starting to get some pretty heavy hitters on the platform, which we're excited about. And we're excited to hopefully see much more direct mail have post reminder included as a direct response tactic.
Amazing. I wish we'd have started with postreminder.com at first, but whatever. It's been amazing. You, Mike, have been a ton of fun to talk to. Your knowledge, your passion for the business. I love it. Thank you so much. I am going to hit stop and we will say goodbye offline.
Great. You've been a great host. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.